onto place and show you what that looks like. So what I'm gonna do initially is just kind of, again, allow Bentley to, this is the first time he's interacted with this cot, so I'm just gonna give him some time to interact with it, inspect it, those kinds of things. I'm not going right into, let's learn place. We're going to let our puppy get familiar with this new thing that we're introducing them to. So I'm gonna try and see how brave he is, and he might be just very brave to get on top. Good. Good job. And he gets off, totally okay. So again, I have my food in my hand, I have my clicker. I'm going to lure the puppy onto place. I'm going to click because he's giving me 1 foot. And you can see he's a little timid, so I'm not going for the whole body here. We're doing it in stages. So I'm luring. See if we can't get him on a little. Good job. Challenge him a little bit to get all the way on. Luring with the food. You can see he wants it. And this is why it's important to have a nice hungry puppy to work with, because their motivation to eat will help in this method. So get it a little closer to him. And again, I have the leash on him. I'm allowing him to come in and out, but what this is doing is not allowing him to leave the training situation, but I am allowing him to go in and out as he feels comfortable. Trying to get the good job. The whole body on there. And you can see how he kept moving forward as I pulled that lure. And eventually when your puppy gets really good at this, you phase out the lure, which means the puppy learns to follow your hand. Because we don't want this to turn into, hey, I need to see food before I do anything, which is what happens a lot of times with our puppies. When they turn into dogs, they've been so used to being lured through everything that unless you have that piece of food in your hand, they're like, I'm not gonna do it, show me your hand first. Like, show me what's in your hand first. So eventually, I'm gonna just try and challenge him. I got nothing in my hand, I'm gonna pretend like I do. I'm gonna have him follow my hand, and I'm gonna mark it, good boy. And then the food is gonna come out of my pocket. Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna try it again with my hand. You want to phase out the food as soon as possible. So a couple repetitions of simply luring, and your puppy's getting it. Take that food out of the equation and start doing it without it, and see if you can't teach your puppy to follow your hand and then reward afterwards. But what you start to notice is that we've done this a handful of times, and now Bentley's like, right, so this is what we do. Once you start noticing this, now we can name it something. So now I'm gonna lure him off with a little leash guidance. Good job. All right, and we're gonna get him back on here. And since he's doing it, place, I'm gonna name it. So as the puppy does the behavior, we name it, and then eventually we can ask for it. Follow my hand, place. And again, I don't care that he's getting off of place. We can work on that afterwards. As far as the boundaries, this is his first lesson. I want him to just get on and off and associate the word place with this. So if he decides to get on here by himself, I can also take advantage of that. Place and mark it. Good job, buddy. And this is what we're working towards. This type of association where we know we are effectively communicating to Bentley because he's repeating the exercise. You can see we have his full engagement. He's sitting, he's looking at us, he's giving eye contact, and he's waiting for direction. This is how we communicate with them. Okay, so the next step in place is teaching your puppy boundaries. So Bentley is completely confident in walking up on this thing now and interacting with it. And now what we want to do is teach him where these boundaries end. Lure him onto place. We're going to mark it, and I'm going to reward him. Now what I'm going to do is use something called spatial pressure to show him where these boundaries are. So basically, if Bentley goes to get off of place, I'm going to use my body to just walk into him and place him back on top of the structure. Good. So we are going to basically be walking around the place cot, kind of tempting him to get off, not in a overly obnoxious way, but providing some distractions, right? I'm just walking around him. I'm doing some things that would maybe, no. Lure him back on. So again, you can see that moment kind of, good. That moment kind of tripped him up a little bit, which is fine, good. So all of this stuff that he's doing is actually stuff that I want to have happen anyway. I want him to learn to lie down on this cot. So he's doing it already, so I'm gonna reward it. So I'm just gonna start walking around. Do things that might trigger him to get off. I'm gonna click, and I'm gonna reward him off the cot so I can set him back up again. Good. And as we're introducing this on and off the cot, this is another thing I can start naming. I can have a release command for the cot. So I'm going to use the word free. So basically, when I reward him, I'm going to reward him on the floor and use the word free. Lure him back onto the cot. I want to reward him on the cot, since that's the behavior that we want. I want him to sit there and stay. Again, if he lies down or not important right now. If he were to get up and come off, I would just say, and guide him back onto the cot with leash guidance and spatial pressure, which is me walking into him. Free. I'm going to say the release command and reward him off the cot. So free means you are able to come off and he's following the food in order to achieve that behavior. So again, we have luring, food chasing, all of those things working to help teach him what those words mean as he's learning to associate them all. Lure him back on, place. And he's gonna lie down, which is great. You can, if your dog does exceptional behavior like that, you can do what's called a jackpot. Just give him a bunch of tiny treats in a row. And basically he's like, wow, I did really good on that one. So a little spatial pressure, good. So when you're walking into your dog, you can do a simple or no, whatever comes naturally to you. This is going to charge another verbal marker for you, which is no. Stop what you're doing and back up. And that's how you teach it. You have the dog somewhere stationary like place, and if they go to move forward, and just walk into them. Free. Good boy. Give him a little leash guidance and encouragement to get off the cot. Go boy. Okay, again, we're gonna try to lure him onto the cot again, except this time I'm gonna say place. Before we do it, guide him on. Mark. Good job. Free. Show the lure, place. Reward. Do some walk-arounds. Again, if he were to come off, I would just walk into his space. Free. And so that's how you start to teach boundaries on place.